Hello Underdogger, it's your boy Underdog Recapped. Before we start, warning, spoilers ahead. Today, I'm going to recap a Spanish social science fiction horror movie released in 2019, called The Platform. This movie tells the story of a terrible vertical prison consisting of one cell per level. In the cell, only 2 prisoners were placed and they had to survive by eating food from platforms that were sent from top to bottom. The higher the cell level, the less and messy the food will be. One day, a man entered the cell as a volunteer to get his diploma. But bad things happened to him because he had to be in a lower level and his cellmates wanted to eat his flesh. What will happen to him? Can he survive in prison? Let's find out together, in a doggy-styled recap. At the beginning of the film, an old man is shown checking the ingredients for the food to be served. This is a process to maintain the quality of each food that will be served in large quantities. Obviously, this ready-to-eat meal would be given to everyone in prison. Then, a man named Goreng woke up from his sleep and found himself in a prison cell with an old man named Trimagasi. Trimagasi explained that they were at level 48 and from today on, they would be eating leftovers from their top cell. The higher the cell, the lower the level. Then, Goreng looked in the middle of the room and there was a very deep hole. It turns out that this prison doesn't end at level 48 because there are still many other inmates waiting for the food to come. The function of the hole in the middle of the cell is as a place for the food platform to move from level 0. Trimagasi is a prisoner who has been in this prison for a long time. Of course he was experienced and knew a lot about this prison. One thing he often mentioned was that level 48 was a pretty good level for the 2 of them. When the green light comes on, it's a sign that the food platform will descend into place. Judging from the food that came, it looked very disgusting and not worth eating again because it was leftovers. Hungry Trimagasi did not hesitate to eat his food. Meanwhile, Goreng hesitated and hesitated to eat it. He couldn't think of how he would live for 1 month consuming the food that had been eaten in the previous 47 levels. Goreng, that holds back hunger, just grab the apple and save it for later. Not long after, the food platform took it to the next level. After that, Trimagasi spat on the food and said that it was a common thing in this prison. The lower we are, the more trampled by those above. Suddenly, the temperature inside the cell became very hot. Then Trimagasi explained that if we store food in cells, the temperature can be very hot or very cold. The only way to normalize it is to drop the food back onto the food platform. Moments later, the light in the dungeon turned red, indicating that the food platform would return to level 0 very quickly. After a few days, Goreng, who always suppressed his appetite, was no longer strong and started to get used to eating leftovers. After eating, Goreng read the book of his choice when the officers asked what stuff that he wanted to bring to the prison. Unlike Goreng, Trimagasi brought a knife into the prison as a form of self-defense. Then suddenly, a prisoner fell from upstairs. Trimagasi was no longer surprised by this and he said that such scenes had happened many times in this prison. Goreng begins to realize how Trimagasi can live when he said he was at level 132 before. Goreng also suspects that Trimagasi has killed and eaten his cellmates. Before long, the food platform reached their cell and saw a woman sitting there. As it turned out, the woman's name was Miharu and she often went up to the platform. Trimagasi says that Miharu will descend to the lowest level to find her missing child. Miharu also always kills her cellmates so that she has a chance to be in the same cell as her child. From there we know that every month the prisoner's level will be randomized and their cellmates will change randomly if someone dies. After a month they were at level 48. One morning when Goreng woke up he found himself bound by a cloth and he couldn't move from his bed. Later, Trimagasi approached him and informed him that they were now at level 171. Because of this, Trimagasi tied up Goreng because he knew there would be no more food left when the platform reached their cell. So, Trimagasi has a fasting plan in the first week and will eat Goreng slowly in the remaining 3 weeks. He promised not to cut off Goreng's vital parts to keep Goreng alive. After several days of not eating, Trimagasi finally decided to eat Goreng's meat. But in the middle of the action, Miharu appears with a food platform. Quickly, Miharu fought Trimagasi by slashing his neck. Then, she let go of Goreng and let Goreng release his anger by killing Trimagasi. After that, Goreng felt weak and unconscious. A few hours later, Goreng came to his senses and saw Miharu eating Trimagasi's meat. Miharu also gave the meat to Goreng but he spit it out. When Goreng asked what her child's name was, Miharu didn't answer and came back downstairs with the platform. Long story short, 1 month passed and Goreng had awakened to a new level along with his new cellmates as well. This time, his cellmate was a woman named Imogiri who brought a dog. The two of them were currently at level 33, which logically wasn't too bad. As it turned out, the woman was a worker who interviewed Goreng before entering this prison. The next day, the food platform returned to their cell. However, Miharu was seen lying on the platform injured. Immediately Goreng and Imogiri immediately helped Miharu. As the platform moved, the temperature inside the cell suddenly became cold. They noticed that the dog did not return food from the platform. Quickly, Goreng took the food from the dog and threw it back onto the platform. A few hours later, Goreng woke up from his sleep and saw the women were fighting. This happened because Miharu had eaten the Imogiri dog alive. In a state of restlessness, Miharu descended back onto the platform while Imogiri was speechless and frustrated by the death of her dog. It was then, Imogiri said that Miharu had no children at all. Before going to prison, she wanted to be an artist like Marilyn Monroe. But because she couldn't do it, she went crazy and looked for a non-existent child. Then, Imogiri also told the reason she came to this prison was because she was desperate because of the malignant cancer that had attacked her for 3 years. After that confession, Imogiri just lay down and didn't want to eat. When the next day came, Goreng woke up and was at level 202. He was shocked, after seeing Imogiri who had hanged herself. Instantly, Goreng became frustrated and was overshadowed by the spirit of Trimagasi and Imogiri. He was tempted by the two of them to eat Imogiri's flesh to survive. At first, he didn't have the heart and instead ate the paper from his book. But when he wasn't strong anymore, he ended up eating Imogiri's flesh to survive. The following month, Goreng woke up again from his sleep and was placed at level 6, a very good level. There, he was accompanied by a man named Baharat. He is a religious person who is optimistic that he will escape from prison. It also has a rope to climb to the top level. But when he was about to go up to level 5, suddenly his face was exposed to dirt from the woman above him. Just then, Baharat washes his face and gets angry. Not long after, the food platform reached level 6. It was seen that the condition of the food was still neat and still fit for consumption. As it turned out, this month was Goreng's last month in prison. He should be able to get out safely since he was at level 6 this month. However, Goreng did not want to be that person and invited Baharat to go down to a lower level and distribute food fairly on each floor. Goreng says if this plan works, then the system in prison will get better. After a long discussion, Baharat finally agreed to follow him. At that time, they broke the mattress pole as a weapon just in case. They climbed onto the platform and went down with him. Then they asked the prisoners at level 7 to fast for a day so that this food could remain intact at least until level 51. They always did the same thing every time they went down to the next level. Until finally they met the sage and said that they must convey a message to the guards by guarding one of the most delicious foods in order to return to level 0. In this way, the guards will know that the prisoners can already share with each other. While passing through several levels, Miharu is seen being killed by a man. At that time, there was a great fight between the prisoners. Fortunately, they managed to kill the prisoners even though they had to be seriously injured and Miharu was already dead. After that they went back to the food platform and saw how bad the lower levels were. Finally they reached level 333 and they were confused as to why the platform had stopped when no one was there. It turned out that under the mattress there was someone who was not clearly visible. As it turned out, he was a child who was none other than Miharu's child. At the end of the movie, the spirits of Trimagasi, Imogiri, and Baharat tell Goreng that children are the message. As it turned out, Baharat had also died in the previous fight. Finally, Goreng took the child to the platform and left her there as a message indicating that they don't deserve to be held in a prison like this because they still have humanity to share. This movie depicts how real-life conditions are by explaining social inequality. Usually life consists of the rich and the poor. The higher a person's level, the more greedily they spent what they had. Meanwhile, the lower one's level, the more miserable one's life will be. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thank you for watching, and as always, see you next time.